You didn't land here by accident. Out of millions of possible videos, your field magnetized this exact message into your timeline. Why? Because your heart has been calling for alignment. Think about it. How many times have you felt one thing in your chest while your mind raced in the opposite direction? That inner dissonance wasn't just stress. It was your quantum field signaling that the old wave is collapsing, but your system is still clinging to it. Every incoherent beat between heart and brain keeps you locked in repeating loops. The same conversations, the same disappointments, the same déjà vu echoing through your life. But coherence changes everything. When your heart and brain synchronize, your electromagnetic field stabilizes. In that moment, the universe doesn't just notice, it reorganizes. Coherence is not about calmness or relaxation. It is about command over your reality field. The instant coherence clicks, the old probability wave dissolves and a new timeline emerges. Imagine a quantum mirror. Right now, your mind reflects one image, your heart, another. The mirror fractures, scattering your energy across conflicting probabilities. That's why you felt drained, fragmented, out of place. But the moment coherence happens, the pieces fuse, and you see your true reflection, a unified frequency, radiant and unstoppable. This message is your threshold. The universe is whispering you are ready to collapse the old wave. The only question left is, will you allow coherence to take over? Have you ever felt like your life was stuck on repeat, the same arguments, the same challenges, the same outcomes, almost as if reality itself was playing the same track over and over again? This is not bad luck. It is not failure. It is what quantum researchers call the observer loop, a cycle where your consciousness keeps collapsing, the same probability waves, recreating the same experiences endlessly. Here's how it works. Every moment, infinite versions of reality exist as potential, but your observation, where your attention lands, decides which version solidifies. When your awareness is unconscious, scattered, or incoherent, it gravitates toward the familiar, and the familiar, even when painful, becomes the default choice. You collapse the same reality not because you want it, but because your system recognizes it as safe. That is why déjà vu feels so haunting. It is not just a trick of the brain. It is a glimpse of your consciousness replaying a probability pattern you've collapsed before. Time stretches strangely when you are in the loop. Days blur together, weeks disappear, and yet you sense no real progress. The illusion of movement hides the truth. Your awareness is circling the same energetic track. Imagine a broken record. The needle keeps sliding back, replaying the same groove endlessly. At first, you might not notice, but soon the repetition becomes unbearable. That is your soul's way of alerting you. You are in the observer loop. Here's the critical insight. The loop is not punishment. It is preparation. It trains your awareness to finally notice the pattern and to crave something more. The very frustration you feel is evidence that your consciousness is ready to break free. Recognition itself is the first crack in the loop. And once the crack appears, collapse is inevitable. Beneath the surface of your daily choices lies something most people never notice: the invisible script. It is the unconscious program written by old emotions, limiting beliefs, and unresolved memories. You think you are freely making decisions, but in reality, the script is directing the entire play. Imagine being an actor on stage, improvising lines with passion, but no matter what words you speak, the story always ends the same way. Why? Because the script, unseen but binding, was already written into the fabric of the performance. That is what happens when you operate from the invisible script. You may change jobs, relationships, or environments, but the core outcome repeats. Different costumes, same ending. This is why certain patterns haunt you across time. The partners who trigger the same wounds, the careers that collapse at the same stage, the financial struggles that echo like shadows. These repetitions are not random. They are the lines of the invisible script, playing out through your energy field until you finally recognize it. And here's the profound truth. The script isn't your enemy, it's your teacher. Every repetition is a mirror, showing you the precise frequencies where your consciousness is stuck. Without this mirror, you might never realize you were repeating anything at all. The invisible script is the training ground for awareness. It frustrates you into awakening. Sentence that strikes, you're not failing at life. You're acting out a script written long before you became aware of it. Recognition breaks the spell. The moment you see the script operating, you are no longer fully trapped by it. Awareness loosens the ink, and coherence begins to rewrite the play. What once felt like destiny reveals itself as a loop, and loops are made to be broken. Here's the strangest paradox of the old wave: the more you resist it, the stronger it becomes. You've probably felt this working harder to escape the loop, reading more books, trying new strategies, yet somehow the same patterns reappear. It's not because you're weak. It's because resistance itself is fuel for the old frequency. Think of it like quicksand. The more desperately you thrash, the deeper you sink. The observer loop works in the same way. When you fight the reality you dislike, your attention locks onto it even more tightly. And attention is energy. By resisting, you are unconsciously reinforcing the very wave you want to collapse. That's why self-improvement often feels exhausting. You set goals, affirm new beliefs, try to outthink your old patterns. But if your heart and brain are still incoherent, all that effort only tightens the loop. You end up rehearsing the old script with more intensity rather than breaking free from it. The paradox is painful but liberating. Once understood, effort without coherence amplifies the trap. Your nervous system interprets resistance as danger, so it clings harder to what feels familiar, even if it hurts. That's why change has felt impossible at times. You weren't doing it wrong. You were simply feeding the old wave with the energy of struggle. Sentence that strikes: the harder you fight the loop, the deeper it roots into your field. The shift begins not with force, but with recognition. The moment you stop resisting and instead allow coherence to emerge, the quicksand releases. Suddenly, the same energy that once kept you trapped becomes the current that carries you forward. What looked like endless repetition transforms into momentum for collapse. One of the first signs that you're out of sync with coherence is how your dreams and waking reality begin to blur. You've probably noticed it. Vivid dreams, so real, they leave an emotional imprint for hours, sometimes even days. In those dreams, you visit alternate versions of your life conversations that never happened, choices you didn't make, timelines you never consciously walked. Yet when you wake, the feelings linger as if you truly lived them. This isn't random imagination. It's evidence that your consciousness is touching multiple probability streams. When your heart and brain are misaligned, your awareness slips through cracks in the field, catching glimpses of realities that haven't collapsed yet. These are what quantum researchers call glitches in the matrix. Reality stutters, and you perceive fragments of the infinite. Have you ever looked at the clock, expecting hours to have passed, only to find it's been minutes? Or the opposite, you swear you were only gone for a moment, yet half the day has vanished. That's not poor time management. It's temporal distortion, a symptom of incoherence. When your system isn't synchronized, time doesn't flow smoothly. It ripples, bending around your awareness like water disturbed by stones. These dreams and glitches are not mistakes. They are invitations. They remind you that reality isn't fixed and your current frequency is unstable. Instead of ignoring them, notice the pattern. The more frequent they become, the closer you are to a threshold. Your consciousness is signaling you cannot live out of sync forever. Sentence that strikes every glitch you notice is your soul knocking, asking you to realign. One of the clearest indicators of incoherence is what I call the heart-brain divorce. You've likely felt it. Your chest tightens, your heartbeat quickens, but your mind refuses to follow. Or the opposite, your thoughts race, creating endless scenarios, while your heart longs for peace and simplicity. This inner divorce fractures your field. Your heart generates a powerful electromagnetic signal, but your brain interprets reality through fear, doubt, and control. The signals conflict, creating static. Instead of collapsing new probabilities, you recycle the old ones because your system cannot agree on which frequency to anchor. Think about how exhausting this feels. You wake up determined to change, but before the day even begins, your mind is battling your heart. One says, trust. The other says, prove it first. One whispers, leap. The other shouts, stay safe. The push and pull drain your energy before you even take action. And here's the painful truth. The heart-brain divorce doesn't just exhaust you. It fragments your reality. Have you ever noticed how relationships seem unstable when you're in this state? How opportunities slip away just as they appear? It's because your field is broadcasting mixed instructions to the quantum fabric. The universe mirrors your incoherence, but awareness of this divorce is the first step to healing it. The moment you realize your thoughts and emotions are fighting different battles, you can invite them into alignment. You don't have to force peace. Simply noticing the split begins to soften it. From that awareness, coherence can grow. Sentence that strikes when your heart and brain argue. The universe cannot hear your true command. Another sign of being out of sync is how synchronicities show up and then slip right through your fingers. Have you noticed this? The right person appears. The perfect message crosses your path. The opportunity you prayed for suddenly knocks. And yet, somehow, it doesn't land. Why does this happen? Because synchronicities require coherence to stabilize. They are like doors opening in the quantum field, but if your heart and brain are misaligned, the door cannot stay open. You glimpse the possibility, but your incoherence collapses it back into the old wave. The result is frustration, a haunting sense that life is teasing you with what could be. It feels like chasing fireflies. For a moment, the light glows in your hands, but the instant you try to grasp it, it vanishes. That fleeting beauty is not a failure, it is feedback. It's the universe showing you that your field is brushing against higher timelines, but without coherence. You cannot step fully into them. Here's the critical shift. Instead of blaming yourself for missing the signs, recognize them as evidence that you're close. Synchronicities don't appear for the unconscious. They appear for those on the edge of coherence. Every missed chance is proof that your field is recalibrating. Sentence that strikes synchronicities don't abandon you. They wait for you to become coherent enough to hold them. The more you notice them, even when they slip away, the more your system prepares for coherence. Soon, the same signs will not just appear, they will anchor. And when they do, the old wave will collapse in real time. Science has confirmed what mystics have whispered for centuries. Your heart is not just a pump, it is a transmitter. Researchers at the HeartMath Institute discovered that the heart generates the most powerful electromagnetic field in the human body, extending several feet beyond your skin. This field is not static. It shifts depending on your emotional state. When you feel fear, anxiety, or anger, the signal becomes chaotic, irregular waves that disrupt communication between the heart and brain. Scientists call this incoherence. Your system wastes energy, your nervous system stays on alert, and your ability to think clearly diminishes. But when you feel gratitude, love, or deep presence, something extraordinary happens. The heart rhythm becomes ordered, smooth, like waves flowing in harmony. This state is called heart-brain coherence. The brain begins to synchronize with the heart's rhythm, creating measurable harmony across your nervous system. In this state, your body operates more efficiently, your intuition sharpens, and your capacity for resilience expands. It's not just emotional. Coherence alters physiology. Stress hormones like cortisol decrease, while regenerative hormones like DHEA increase. Your immune system strengthens, your brain functions improve, and even your DNA expression shifts. Sentence that strikes coherence is not a feeling, it is a frequency. Your entire body broadcasts. Science proves what the soul already knows. When your heart and brain are aligned, you are not just healthier. you are more powerful. You become a living transmitter of order in a chaotic world. From a quantum perspective, coherence is more than a physiological state. It is a collapse mechanism. Every moment, countless probabilities exist as overlapping waves. Normally, your incoherent field collapses the same low-frequency options, repeating familiar outcomes. But coherence changes the equation. When the heart and brain align, your field becomes ordered, broadcasting a single clear frequency. Instead of scattering attention across multiple probabilities, your observation sharpens. It's like tuning a radio. Incoherence picks up static, bits of every channel, while coherence locks into one station with clarity. In that clarity, the quantum wave collapses into the highest aligned timeline. This is why people often describe coherence as a sense of flow or synchronicity. It is not magic, it is physics. An ordered field interacts with the quantum vacuum differently. Randomness decreases. Probability funnels toward resonance. The outcomes that match your coherent frequency become overwhelmingly likely, while the old chaotic patterns lose stability. Think of coherence as a magnet. Incoherence is like scattering iron filings across the table. No pattern, no direction. But the moment coherence activates, the filings arrange themselves into elegant lines. Your reality organizes the same way. Sentence that strikes coherence doesn't just change how you feel, it changes which timeline survives. Quantum physics suggests that consciousness is the key operator of reality. And coherence is consciousness at its most focused. With every coherent heartbeat, you collapse uncertainty into order, and probability into destiny. Long before science measured electromagnetic fields, mystics and sages spoke of coherence. They described it in different languages: surrender, alignment, union, presence. The essence was always the same. When the heart and mind are no longer at war, the soul can finally lead. In mystical traditions, incoherence is often called separation or ego fragmentation. The mind tries to control, the heart longs to trust, and the soul waits in silence. This division is the root of suffering, but coherence is what ancient teachers named as oneness. It is the state where your inner voices dissolve into harmony, and you remember that you are not a fragment but a field. Consider prayer, meditation, or deep worship. These practices don't fix you. They align you. As you surrender control, your heart softens, your thoughts quiet, and your awareness expands. What mystics called divine union is what science now calls heart-brain coherence. Different words, same phenomenon. Mysticism also reveals the hidden cost of resisting coherence. The more you cling to ego control, the more you fracture your reality. But the moment you surrender, coherence arrives like grace. It doesn't require effort, only permission. Sentence that strikes coherence is not created by force. It descends when you allow. Seen through mystical eyes, coherence is more than a tool for shifting reality. It is remembrance, the moment you stop seeking outside and realize the divine frequency has always been within you. Most people who study manifestation or quantum theory stop at the observer effect, the idea that your awareness chooses which probability becomes real. And yes, observation collapses the wave. But here's the hidden truth. Almost no one tells you observation alone is not enough. If your heart and brain are incoherent, your observation is fragmented. One part of you longs for expansion while another part doubts. One moment you focus on abundance. The next you collapse back into fear. The result, a weak, unstable collapse. The wave flickers, briefly shifting but snapping back to the old frequency, like an elastic band. This is why so many people feel stuck, even after years of visualizations, affirmations, or positive thinking. They observe with their minds, but their hearts are out of sync. Without synchrony, the field cannot stabilize. The collapse is incomplete. But when heart and brain enter true coherence, something radical happens. Your observation becomes unified. No longer split between desire and doubt, The signal broadcasts with clarity, and clarity is power. In that state, the old probability wave doesn't just wobble, it shatters. The collapse is irreversible. Think of it like striking a tuning fork. If only your brain resonates. The sound is faint and distorted. But when heart and brain vibrate together, the resonance amplifies into a frequency strong enough to reorganize the field itself. Sentence that strikes observation alone flickers the wave, but synchrony collapses it for good. This is the hidden key. The quantum field doesn't respond to thought alone. It responds to coherence, and once you embody that synchrony, the old wave has no choice but to dissolve. The moment coherence locks in, something profound occurs, what mystics describe as ego death, and what physics mirrors as quantum death. It is the instant when the old probability wave loses stability and dissolves, not gradually, but all at once. Think of it this way. Every incoherent moment keeps the old self alive, recycling the same identity through the same patterns. But coherence strikes like lightning. It doesn't negotiate with the old wave, it annihilates it. The fragmented self, built on doubt and division, cannot survive in a coherent field. The moment synchrony arrives, the old identity collapses. This collapse feels disorienting at first. Time warps. Familiar habits feel alien, and people who once mirrored your old frequency begin to drift away. It can feel like death, because in a very real sense, it is the you that kept the old wave alive is gone. What remains is empty space, and in that emptiness, the new timeline takes root. Quantum physics calls this decoherence when a system no longer sustains overlapping possibilities, but collapses into a single state. Mysticism calls it rebirth. Both are describing the same event, the death of what was, so that what is meant to be can emerge. Sentence that strikes the old self doesn't fade. It dies the moment coherence is born. This truth can be unsettling, but it is also liberating. You don't have to fight the old self or endlessly heal it. You only have to align. The collapse will take care of the rest, and once the old wave dies, it cannot resurrect. Imagine reality as a pane of holographic glass. When your heart and brain are incoherent, the glass fractures. Each shard reflects a different version of you, the fearful you, the doubting you, the striving you. Your energy scatters across these fragments, so no single image has enough clarity to stabilize. The result is confusion, repetition, and instability. But coherence fuses the shards. The scattered reflections collapse into a single, radiant image. Suddenly, you are no longer fragmented. You are whole, and that wholeness doesn't just change how you feel, it restructures the field around you. The holographic glass reforms, and reality reflects only one version of you, the coherent one. This is why coherence is irreversible. Once the glass is reassembled, the old fractures can't simply reappear. You may remember who you were, but memory isn't resonance. The old self becomes like smoke in the air, visible for a moment, but impossible to grasp. The field refuses to sustain what no longer exists. Many fear this stage because it feels like losing control. But the truth is the opposite. You finally gain command. The collapse of the old wave doesn't erase you. It reveals you. The coherent you has always been there, waiting behind the broken reflections. Sentence that strikes coherence doesn't just fix the cracks. It rebuilds the glass into something unbreakable. From this moment on, the shift cannot be undone. The hologram has stabilized. The old wave has shattered. And what remains is a reflection. You cannot lose your truest, most coherent self. Here is the paradox of coherence. The harder you try to force it, the further away it feels. Many people approach coherence as if it were another achievement, another goal to conquer. They sit in meditation straining to get it right. Or they repeat affirmations with tension in their chest. But coherence is not born from force. It is born from permission. Think of it like sleep. You cannot try to fall asleep. The very effort keeps you awake. Sleep happens when you allow it. In the same way, Coherence arises when you create space for it. The heart softens, the breath deepens, and the brain begins to follow. It is less about doing and more about being. This principle is why surrender is so central to mystical traditions. When you stop controlling every thought, every outcome, you allow your system to settle into harmony. Coherence is not about suppressing emotions or pretending to be calm. It is about aligning your inner rhythms until they naturally resonate. Have you noticed how music works? When two instruments are tuned, they don't fight for dominance. They vibrate together, amplifying each other's sound. That's coherence. The heart and brain don't need you to push them into unity. They need you to stop interfering so their natural harmony can emerge. Sentence that strikes coherence isn't something you achieve, it's something you allow. The principle is simple yet profound. Your role is not to manufacture coherence but to make space for it. With every breath of surrender, coherence finds you, and once it does, the old wave doesn't stand a chance. Understanding coherence is powerful, but embodying it requires practice. The good news is that you don't need hours of meditation or complex techniques. Small, intentional rituals can instantly bring your heart and brain into alignment. Ritual 1: the 3 breaths. Place your hand over your heart. Inhale deeply for 4 counts. Hold for 4. Exhale for 6. Do this 3 times. With every cycle, imagine your breath flowing through your heart, carrying peace to your brain. This simple rhythm collapses stress patterns and signals your nervous system to synchronize. Ritual 2: the written release. On a piece of paper, write 1 sentence. This loop ends now. As you write, feel the weight of the old wave. Then, tear the paper slowly. With each rip, imagine the old frequency dissolving. This act is symbolic, but potent. It anchors the collapse into your field. Ritual 3: the heart declaration. Place both hands on your chest and whisper, "I am coherent with my highest timeline." Feel the vibration in your body as the words resonate. The declaration is not about convincing your mind, it's about tuning your field to a new command. These rituals may seem simple, but they are gateways. Each one bypasses mental resistance and invites coherence directly into your body. Sentence that strikes every micro-practice is a doorway. The moment you step through, coherence steps in. Practice them daily, even for a few minutes. You'll notice how synchronicities anchor, how time flows differently, and how the old wave begins to crumble without effort. The deepest key to coherence is embodiment, living it, not just understanding it. Too often, people approach change with the mind. First, they analyze, strategize, repeat affirmations, and try to think their way into a new state, but coherence flips the order. To shift timelines, you must feel before you think. Why? Because the heart leads the field. Its electromagnetic signal is far stronger than the brain's. When your emotions generate coherence, the brain naturally follows. But when the brain tries to lead without the heart, the result is static, confusion, and fragmentation. This is why pure positive thinking often fails without emotional embodiment. The field doesn't reorganize. Embodiment means practicing the frequency you want to live in. If you desire abundance, don't just think abundant thoughts, feel the gratitude and expansion in your chest until your body believes it. If you want peace, let your breath slow. Your shoulders soften and your nervous system rest in that vibration. The body becomes the anchor and the mind tunes itself to match. This shift is subtle but revolutionary. Instead of chasing new outcomes, you broadcast a new frequency, and the quantum field cannot resist resonance. Sentence that strikes your body is the tuning fork when it vibrates in coherence. Your mind has no choice but to follow. So begin each day not by asking, "What should I think?" but by asking, "What do I want to feel?" Let the feeling lead, and watch how reality collapses into alignment with your embodied frequency. When coherence becomes your baseline, synchronicities stop being rare surprises and start becoming a natural rhythm of life. Instead of isolated signs, they form a continuous flow, a stream of confirmations guiding your every step. Think about the difference. In incoherence, synchronicities feel fleeting. You catch glimpses of a number repeating a chance encounter, but they slip away. In coherence, those same signs link together, like pearls on a string. Each one leads naturally to the next, creating a pathway through the quantum field. Life no longer feels random. It feels orchestrated. This is the essence of living from the new wave reality, responds instantly to your coherent broadcast. Opportunities align without strain, conversations unfold with precision, and time itself bends to support you. It feels as though the universe is not just listening but dancing with you. Have you ever had a day where everything just worked? The right calls came at the right time. Traffic opened like magic, and your energy felt multiplied instead of drained. That wasn't luck. That was coherence weaving synchronicities into flow, sentence that strikes in coherence. Synchronicity stops knocking it, carries you. The shift is profound. You no longer chase signs or doubt whether you're on the right path. The flow itself becomes proof, and in that stream, the old wave dissolves, replaced by a living dialogue with the universe. When you live in coherence, it doesn't just transform your inner world, it radiates outward, reshaping your relationships and the field you share with others. The heart's electromagnetic signal extends several feet around the body, and in coherence, that signal stabilizes. People can feel it before you speak a word. Have you noticed how some people bring calm the moment they enter a room that is coherence in action? Their field entrains others, gently pulling chaotic signals into harmony. Likewise, when you are incoherent, your field broadcasts instability, and those around you unconsciously react with tension or resistance. This explains why relationships often shift dramatically after coherence begins. People who resonated with your old frequency may drift away, while new connections appear almost instantly. It's not rejection, it's resonance. As your field reorganizes, only those aligned with your new wave can truly stay. Opportunities also begin to emerge differently. Coherent fields attract collaboration. Conversations flow smoothly. Conflicts resolve with unexpected ease, and a sense of mutual recognition deepens. It feels less like effort and more like magnetism. Imagine your field as a lighthouse. When the light flickers, ships hesitate, unsure where to go. But when it shines steady, ships navigate directly toward you. That's what coherence does. In relationships, it guides the right people into your orbit, while letting others naturally fade. Sentence that strikes your coherence is not private, it becomes a frequency others instinctively trust. Living in coherence means you no longer force relationships to work. You embody stability, and the universe brings you those who resonate with it. The rest simply fall away, making space for a new, coherent tribe. One of the most extraordinary shifts coherence brings is temporal flexibility, the way time itself begins to bend around you. In incoherence, time feels rigid, heavy, always against you. Hours drag when you're stuck, and days vanish when you're overwhelmed. But coherence rewrites your relationship with time. When heart and brain synchronize, your nervous system enters flow. In flow, the perception of time changes. Tasks that once took hours compress into minutes, while peaceful moments stretch, giving you more presence inside them. You're no longer racing against the clock adjusts to you. This is why people in coherence often report perfect timing. Calls arrive exactly when you're ready. Opportunities align without being rushed. Even delays reveal themselves as hidden alignments. Time stops feeling like an enemy and begins to act as an ally. Think of time as a river. In incoherence, you're thrashing in the current, exhausted, dragged downstream. In coherence, you learn to float. The river carries you, effortlessly, to the exact bend where you need to be. You realize you were never meant to control time, only to align with it. Sentence that strikes in coherence. You don't manage time, time begins to serve you. This flexibility is not an illusion. It is the byproduct of a coherent field interacting with probability. As resistance dissolves, the friction with time dissolves too. What remains is a life lived in rhythm, where the future no longer feels threatening, but responsive, ready to unfold in harmony with your frequency. Your personal coherence does not stay personal. It radiates into the collective field, influencing others in ways you may never see. Biologist Rupert Sheldrake called this morphic resonance, the idea that when one system organizes itself, it makes it easier for others to do the same. Coherence is contagious. Think of tuning forks. Strike one, and another nearby begins to vibrate at the same pitch. When your heart and brain synchronize, your frequency quietly entrains those around you. They may not understand why they feel calmer, clearer, or more open near you, but they do. Without words, your coherence becomes a silent invitation. This is why personal awakening is never selfish. Each time you collapse the old wave in yourself, you weaken its grip on the collective. Every coherent choice adds weight to the field of awakening. The more individuals embody coherence, the easier it becomes for the next person, and the next. At a tipping point, coherence doesn't just shift individuals, it catalyzes cultures. Entire communities begin to mirror the frequency of unity, compassion, and trust. What was once rare synchronicity becomes a shared reality. This is how personal transformation scales into collective awakening. Sentence that strikes every coherent heartbeat is a signal to the human field. It's safe to awaken now. You may never know the full impact of your coherence, but every time you choose alignment, you're contributing to a resonance that stretches across humanity. Awakening is not a solitary act. It is a frequency rising through the morphic field, one coherent soul at a time. There comes a moment when personal coherence is no longer just personal, it becomes collective momentum. Scientists studying complex systems call this the tipping point, the threshold where a small shift ignites a massive transformation. Humanity is approaching such a threshold now. We see the signs everywhere. Old systems of control are breaking down, while conversations about energy, frequency, and consciousness are rising into the mainstream. What was once dismissed as mystical language is now echoed in scientific journals. The field of awakening is gathering weight. The tipping point doesn't require everyone to awaken at once. Studies of morphic fields and social change suggest that when even a minority embodies a coherent frequency, it ripples outward until the whole system reorganizes. It is like heating water at first. Nothing seems to change. Then suddenly, at 100 degrees, the entire structure transforms into steam. This is the stage we are entering. Every act of coherence contributes heat to the system. Every aligned heartbeat adds pressure. And soon, the shift will not just be personal, it will be planetary. Sentence that strikes awakening spreads like fire. It only takes enough sparks to ignite the whole forest. Humanity's tipping point is not far away. The question is not whether it will happen, but whether you will be awake enough to notice and to play your part in accelerating the shift. In the midst of collapse, it is easy to feel fear. Old structures are crumbling, familiar timelines dissolving, and the world can look chaotic. But coherence reveals a different truth beneath the noise. A new wave is rising, and it is filled with hope. Hope is not passive. It is not waiting for circumstances to improve. Hope is a frequency, a signal you choose to broadcast. Each time you align heart and brain, you radiate this signal into the collective field. Others feel it. They may not know why, but your coherence awakens their courage to hope too. This is why declarations are so powerful. A declaration is more than words. It is a coherent command to the field. When spoken from alignment, it does not just inspire. It reprograms reality. So here is the invitation. Place your hand over your heart and whisper. The old wave has collapsed. I am coherent with the new. Let the vibration travel through your chest, your breath, your field. Feel it echo into the morphic resonance of humanity. You are not declaring alone. Thousands, perhaps millions, are making the same choice in this very moment. And as their voices join with yours, the frequency strengthens. The tipping point approaches. Sentence that strikes every declaration you embody is a seed of hope planted in the field of humanity. So let your declaration be bold. Not a wish, but a knowing. Not a plea, but a command. The future is not waiting. It is already collapsing into coherence. And with every heartbeat, you are helping to write the story of awakening. You did not arrive here by accident. If these words resonate, it is because your field is already shifting. The old wave is collapsing, and coherence is calling you forward. You are standing at the threshold between the self you once were and the self that is ready to emerge. Remember, this coherence is not distant, not difficult. It is available in every breath, every heartbeat, every choice to feel before you think. You don't need to force it. You only need to allow. And the moment you do, reality reorganizes around you. The signs you once dismissed as coincidences will align into flow. The relationships that drained you will fall away, replaced by those who amplify your frequency. Time itself will bend, and opportunities will arrive without struggle. This is the life coherence creates not by magic, but by resonance. Now it is your turn to declare. Place your hand over your heart and whisper in alignment, I live in coherence. The old wave has collapsed. My reality is reborn. Write it in the comments below if you feel called. Your declaration doesn't just affirm your shift, it strengthens the collective field. Together, our coherence builds momentum toward the tipping point of humanity. Sentence that strikes your coherence is not just your destiny, it is humanity's hope. So let this be your moment. Step fully into coherence. Collapse the old, embody the new, and know that every heartbeat you offer is rewriting the story of awakening.